Anybody wants to come up closer, I know we have these reserved, but if we don't have folks that need these front seats, feel free to move around. This is your town hall, it's not mine. I want to thank the folks from both the regional office, Mr. Quinlan and Director Welch for being here. And I know that Gilbert did this. We did it in two ways. One, they're the experts. I appreciate the work that they do, and you should probably know this. I hope they say it. That they give me great access on my staff. They're improving to, I would say, it is so much better, our ability to call and work on your behalf, than I think it's ever been in this community. And that says a lot about what's happening nationally, and it says a lot about Director Welch and his team. He will also tell you that I'm usually cranky about 10 or 20 things. He's blushing, so I guess he's agreeing with me. It's a tough job to run a hospital, and it's a tough job to run a healthcare system. But I expect that we have the best hospital in the country, and I'm not going to stop fighting. I hope you don't either until it gets done, right? Because you served our country. And I thank you for that. And I think too many Americans forget that not only did the veteran and so many families, right? Both. The couple served the country. Whole family. This is a family issue. We promise to protect and serve your family. And I don't believe that this country has made good in a lot of ways on that promise. So I want to hear from you on these things. One, what's going right and well, if you got that. What is not working and how we can fix it right here, which is why these folks are with me. And what I can be doing in Congress that would give you better services and better access. I want to do all three of those things. And I know everybody here wants all three of those things too. All right, thank you for letting me interrupt you. Nice to see you.
See you. Congressman Michelle Lujan. I'm Richard B. Rick Edwards, U.S. Air Force 1952 to 1956. Yesterday, I received, it's March 17, I received a letter from your office with an attached letter from our Albuquerque VA Medical Center informing me that I have been denied access to the Veterans Choice Program, which would treat my stage 4 prostate cancer condition based on the detailed data in my letter of February 2 to your office and the 8 accompanying supportive exhibits supporting my claim. I believe the VA's preemptive conclusion ignores the evidence and is wrong in their conclusion. Therefore, I respectfully request a meeting with the Congresswoman in order to more thoroughly investigate the nature and extent of my legitimate claim, thus enabling their hoped-for intervention in my rightful and proper access to the Veterans Choice Program.
Richard, I'm sorry that you have to share your story, but thank you for having the courage to do it. Two, I wish I could make these decisions myself. I don't, but I can't appeal, and I can't keep fighting, and I can't promise the results, but I would be honored to spend time with you and to figure out a way in which we can re-present the information. And I'm assuming, without knowing the details, that we're in a window to appeal. I'm looking, we are, everyone? Good. Then yes. So that lovely woman right there, Liz Ham, is going to make sure that that happens. Now I go to Washington for 2 more weeks straight. Are you willing to meet on the weekend?
I am indeed.
Me too. All right, it's done.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Congresswoman
You're
Michelle Lujan.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You guys can call me Michelle if you want to. Hello, sir.
Michelle, thank you very much for hosting this event. I want to take the opportunity to thank all the people on the panel taking their time out to come and be with us veterans, and say welcome home to my brothers and sisters who are present here today. My First, let me say my personal experience with the Raymond G. Murphy Medical Center has been overwhelmingly positive. Dr. Robbins in the urology department has been open to my conversation and suggestions and has met me more than halfway. And I am very thankful and privileged to have the opportunity to go to the Raymond G. Murphy Medical Center. My question today is for spousal benefits. Is my understanding that a veteran who is receiving compensation for service-connected disabilities must fulfill a 10-year period before a spouse can continue the benefits? Why can't this be reduced to 5 years, or at the very least, if the veteran dies before the 10 years, as in the case of my neighbor, 9 years and 3 months, his spouse lost that compensation? Why couldn't it be, reduced to 5 years, or a reduced compensation rather than 0?
I worry still that with, and we're going to put $4.4 billion, at least that's what's been proposed by the president. I want to be careful. I think that Congress is going to debate wildly the budget. We always do, irrespective of who the president is, so we're going to debate that. But I appreciate, right, that this White House, this federal administration identified additional resources because we need more. Most of these rules, in my opinion, are intended not just for accountability and fairness, but rather to limit how much money we're putting out there because there are too many folks who need it. So it's a way of controlling those resources. I don't like it. I'm one of the very few members of Congress who wants presumptive eligibility for disability and VA benefits. I don't know why we ask you to serve our country and you do. And then we make you prove that the issues that you have are connected to your service. And then we make you wait 24 months or longer to get those services. And I'll tell you what the answer is. There is a policymaker, either party, that doesn't want to do the right thing here. But there isn't enough money to do it. And I think there is. I think there absolutely is, and we just got to figure it out. But that's an issue. I need to ask the question. Can this happen administratively to look to change these benefits, or does this require me to actually try to change the law? Okay, so this is a statute. I mean, they really, and which worries me, both in Medicaid, Medicare, TRICARE, and veterans. We put way too much restrictive language in the statutes so that these guys don't have any wiggle room. And it's a way to sort of control the resources. How about if I introduce legislation that does exactly that? And I'm already on legislation that looks to increase and enhance the eligibility requirements and benefits for caregivers for veterans, because this makes no sense to me. So would you work with us to make sure we get that language right?
Yes, ma'am.
And is there anything you think our office could do in the interim to make sure that you have access to resources, to make sure that your family is engaged in this community with the dignity and the respect that you deserve?
I'm open to participate in whatever you
Okay. Where am I? Elizabeth. Well, these guys will get you right back there. We'll do everything we can to figure out anything we can. Thank you. And I'll introduce that legislation quick.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Welcome.
Well, you know what I'm here for. I never saw you when that crap first happened to me at the VA. Was young, you didn't do squat. You know, I was criminally sexually assaulted and criminally raped by VA medical care when I went in for cataract procedure. All that came out of your mouth to me was, I need to be gotten to medical care and to the DOJ. I worked my way up to the DOJ. John Moore lies to the DOJ. They closed my file. You never did squat to help me. Why?
I'm so sorry.
No, I don't want to hear it. I want a reason. You were protecting the VA hospital. That's why none of us have gotten the care. They raped me. They stripped me naked. They shaved me. They catheterized me. I was pimped and prostituted out for multiple medical teams, for research and training. How dare those people do that to us? The fierce doctrine that Truman put into effect in 1950 has got to go. It protects vets from coming back on the VA hospitals. I want to know what you're going to do to help me.
Well, I'm going to do three things based on that. One, I worry if the trust between my office and you is eroded. Is there a way, and I can't remember, I apologize, do we need private lawyers and independent folks to try to work? It's really difficult, and I'm not defending us. It's very difficult to find other avenues, but I am willing to do that particularly. I don't believe that my staff would lie, but I also know
evidence. I was told by my person that was helping me in the
I will tell you this, if there's evidence about any of my staff, they're all coalescing because they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Evidence, then they will be removed from my office because unlike, this is a dig at you guys, are you ready? Unlike your office, I can just fire my folks.
Is John Moore still in your office?
He is.
Then he needs to be gone.
Okay.
He didn't be gone before the talk to Patrick Stewart with the DOJ.
I will look at his history record.
One,
do you want us to try to find a private lawyer? Would you trust us to do that?
I've already got one standing by.
Okay, all right, well I think that's good. Two.
And besides that, none of the people here in New Mexico can be trusted. Heidi, Udall, your office, and Martinez have all perjured themselves. You guys took a vow of office to uphold the laws of this United States. Rape has always been a criminal offense. And I am not going to go away. I promised Linda Rose a holiday in Lebanon. And trust me, I'm not going to go back on my word.
Can I do a second thing? So we'll follow up, and I want to see what that case looks like, and we're going to do a forensic review because I think that's really important. And as I go to the next question, I do want to say this for the audience. These are real issues. These are issues in all aspects. There are issues, as we're seeing currently, in active military. There are issues in healthcare, and I take them very, very seriously. So I don't want anyone to diminish that there are real issues that are not yet addressed, and there are real sexual assault issues in the military that have yet to be productively addressed in this country. I appreciate your courage.
Mine was done by the VA.
No, I said both.
But now it's sad because the VA hospitals are now killing active duty people. Not just us, active duty people. And the fierce doctrine was in front of Congress not too long ago. What'd you do about it? And Judge Scalia was trying to get the other judges to relook at that doctrine, and that man ends up dead. Something's wrong with that picture.
Thank you for being here. Yes, sir.
Congresswoman Michelle
Hi there.
and VA representatives and my fellow veterans and their families, I would like to publicly state, my name is Tom Elmhorst. I'm a Vietnam veteran, 1st Infantry Division, 68-69. And I'd like to say that I've had surgeries at my VA, which is mine and yours. I've had surgeries there. I've had extensive therapy for PTSD. I no longer have to use alcohol to get myself to sleep. And I'm grateful for my VA. I would like to say that any attempt to privatize my VA or to allow anyone to make money off from me by privatizing the VA or giving me vouchers to go to an external source for my health care, I vehemently oppose. Thank you.
Just so that you know, me too. So, thank you for that. It's good to know that. Yes, sir.
Congresswoman Michelle Grisham, I want to thank you very much for getting us here today. And I want to thank your office for helping me with my claims with the Veterans Administration. It's an ongoing process, and as many folks here know, it takes some time. I think what I have here are a few comments basically for these gentlemen up here. I'd like to know, first of all, are you both veterans?
Kind of in a way.
I am a veteran of 26 years.
Okay?
I'm a type 1 diabetic. The military would not take it.
Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your stating that. I'm a Vietnam vet, 1969 and 1971, United States Navy from 1964 to 1972. My service was voluntary. It was without hesitation, and it was expensive in my life. The expense I'm paying for now. I would just like to point out a few things. I'm not going to go into the details of my claim, other than the fact that I filed my initial claim in June of 2013. It took 13 months to get a response, determination on that first claim, which was fully denied. Had to file an appeal. Did that 2 months later. Then, and that was in early 2014. Then in 2016, I got a determination on one of the 3 issues that I had filed on. And at that point, I was required to refile an appeal on the issues that I was continued to be denied on, which I did. So you have on your clock started me the wait period for my board hearing, or however it's going to shake out, in August and July of 2016. The clock started. That's 3 years after I first filed my claim. The clock is now ticking. You sent a letter through Congresswoman Grisham's office just the other day, saying that there are 632 people ahead of me on this appeal board. I'd like to point out a few things that come directly out of your own regulations. The claimant, under 38 U.S.C. Section 5107, the claimant has the responsibility to present and support, not prove, their claim. The Veterans Administration is supposed to provide the benefit of the doubt in this claim to the claimant. If there's any level of disagreement that arises regarding service origin, degree of disability, or any other point, such doubt will be resolved in the favor of the claimant. The VA has an obligation to assist the claimant in developing the facts pertinent to the claim. I don't know about the rest of my partners out here, but I've never had anybody from the VA come up and say to me, let me help you out with this claim so that you can get it right, so that we can proceed and get this thing processed in a timely manner. I'm 71 years old. I don't want to have to wait until I'm buried before you guys make up your mind. It says here in paragraph 3.321, the general ratings considerations, that you follow a 1945 ratings disability schedule. 1945. I was born in 1945. Why hasn't that been upgraded to reflect what we know now? Why hasn't that been upgraded to reflect the issues that we are addressing today, not 71 years ago? In this paragraph titled The Essentials of Evaluative Ratings, the percentage ratings represent, as far as can practically be determined, the average impairment in earning capacity. We don't all face issues that impact our earning capacities. There are other things that are affecting our lives from these exposures to whatever it is, whether it's a bullet wound or, in my case, Agent Orange, that are inflicted on me as a whole person when I volunteered to serve my country and am now paying the price for these inflicted injuries. It's not just earning capacity. I was fortunate enough to be able to return to the world, become employed, and retire. I lived in a time when, during my service, and I'm sure a lot of people here can relate to this, if you were injured but you didn't lose a limb, or you could still get up and do your job, you were told to suck it up and go to work. You didn't go to sick bay and complain, oh, my back is hurting me today, put this on the record because in 50 years I'm going to have to file a complaint. I'm fighting right now on injuries you can't see, but I have. Section 4.2, interpretation of examination reports. Different examiners at different times will not describe the same disability in the same language. That's subjective. This gentleman can go to one examiner with the same complaint and get his rating determined at a certain percentage. I'll go to a different examiner, the same complaint, and get mine at a different rating exam, at a rating percentage. The hell is that? Resolution of reasonable doubt. When after careful consideration of all procurable and assembled data, a reasonable doubt arises regarding the degree of disability, such doubt will be resolved in the favor of the complainant. Really? Is that your experience? Has it been mine?
Well, while you're looking at that there are so many examples. I appreciate that you're highlighting them because I think they're important. Appeals judges for veterans have the highest overturn rate of denials of disability and related benefit issues of any body of government in federal government. And part of the reason is because they say no in such a subjective way, in my opinion at least. And you're highlighting that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just about done, gentlemen. I'll be out of here in a second, and you can proceed. The VA, this is right from your document. The VA, in determining all claims for benefits that have been reasonably raised by the filings and evidence, has applied the benefit of the doubt and liberally and sympathetically reviewed all submissions in writing from the veteran as well as all evidence on record. I don't think so. I've had 2 claims up front. I'm still waiting for determinations that are reasonable on these. But when you get down to it, I'll just wrap this up real quick. Out of the 2 claims, I've got like 10%, a 20%, a 10%, and another 20%, for a total of 60%. I'm receiving 50%. The amount of money you receive for 50% is 1/3 of what you would receive for 100%. VA math. I don't think anybody in the world understands how that's determined. They tell me that because at each percentage issue, at each rating, that I'm rated at first I was a 100% person. Then I got a 10% rating. Then I'm a 90% person. Then I got a 20% rating. Now I'm a 70% person. I was a 100% person when I received the injury. I expect that it's reasonable to be rated as a 100% person if you think that these various injuries are 10%. And by the way, heart disease, open heart surgery, 11 hours on the table with my chest cracked open, 10%? Really? Chronic diabetes, Agent Orange exposure, 20%? Really? Gentlemen, there's something wrong with this system. You're here at the Veterans Administration to serve veterans, not to make a profit. And I know you understand this, and I'm not blaming you individually. This is an issue that I think has to be addressed on a national level. But these people here, myself included, didn't step up and say, I'm going to give you today 10% of my effort. I'm going to give you today 20% of my effort. I'm going to delay for a year and a half before I actually step out there and expose myself to the hazards that we exposed ourselves to. Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you, gentlemen.
Sure, I'd just like to make a few comments based on the gentleman's summary of what's going on with the VA. As you can all understand and realize, as I said earlier, I'm a veteran myself, 26 years. So I know a lot of the complications and the issues you go through when it comes to filing a claim. I had some of the same issues myself, but after becoming a member of the Department of Veterans Affairs, I realized that just like in the military, you have laws, rules, regulation, and policy that you must follow. Me, as a BVA director of the regional office, I have those same rules, regulations, and guidelines I must follow. While I would love to give everyone all the benefits that they're seeking, I got laws and regulation and rules that I have to abide by. Some of these things cannot be changed by myself or my cohort here from the hospital. We have to go by those rules and those regulations. But we do reach out to each and every one of you individually. And I promise you, if you come to my office for a claim that you've been processing and you don't have the answers you need, we will give you those answers. We don't just put you on a list for you to wait. We actually have real live people talk to you right away. Just like today in the back, I got my operation and one of my service members in the back to answer your specific questions. But I can't sit up here and give you specific about your situation unless you go to the back and talk to Tim Love and Chris Shear, who can pull up your claim and they can look at it and they can tell you exactly what's going on with that claim. But again, I do sympathize with the process being as long as it is. But until Congress change some of these rules and some of these laws, we have to abide by the law because we are servants of the taxpayers' dollars. We want to make sure that you get everything that you're entitled to. But I would challenge each and every one of you here in the audience today, if you got an administration question about your claim, by all means, do not leave here today until you see me or my associates in the back. I want to make sure you get the answers that you deserve.
And I might just follow up. I know we're taking too long, and I'll stay as long as people can stay because I learned something, and it means something to me to be here, and I know that you've given up your time too. The sequester, I mean, the raging debate in Congress, right, about what we do, about what our priorities are, and how federal government should work, and what we do about the federal deficit, and what we do about the debt, which are all really important issues. And they should drive responses by your members of Congress, both parties, right? They should. But the issue is that we've also reduced funding for these administrative positions. Now, I will tell you, I voted against that. I keep voting against it. I think, just so that you know, and you may disagree with me, I think that we should be investing in the economy in a way that gives us a return on the investment, and those investments should be prioritized to both deal with the deficit and for the things that we need to get done. I worry that my grandchild, by the time I fix a bridge, if you heard this debate, because this is a debate in Congress, if we spend money we don't have today, I saddle my grandchildren with a bill. True. If we wait 20 years, the bill will be much bigger. And we have a public safety issue. So there's some balances here. We shouldn't be wasteful, we should be smart, we gotta have a balance. But in fact, we have reduced funding for these positions, and we make it hard because we can control the money. And I think that's wrong. I don't like these administrative processes, and I think maybe at the end of this, we ought to think about some additional legislation and try to get it through, because it just, and with the President Trump interested in putting more money into veterans, maybe this is an opportunity for us to figure out ways to fix some of these problems in this Congress. So I'm all in. All right.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is John Waters. Just a couple of points I'd like to make before I start on my personal issue is the ability to even contact the VAs here or the hospital. You cannot, at least the last time I tried, you cannot even directly call the VA office in this city, which is ridiculous. You have the same issues when you try to contact the hospital here. You wait and wait and wait. You know, you start off with caller 17. You eventually get to someone who can help you. Most of these numbers you can't even leave a message at to get a return call. More recently, in a different subject matter, I received a call, or not a call, but a card in the mail telling me to make an appointment. I called to make that appointment, and they said, we can't make your appointment. So what's happening here is they're just not scheduling your appointments until they have time to schedule it when it's not too far in the future. So it's an end run on the whole intent and purpose of getting people appointments in a timely manner. So this system needs to be corrected. Their phone and ability to contact people in this system is insane. You need to be able to contact people when you need help. More recently, in a more personal matter, I have been waiting 6 months for medical advice. I have written and contacted all my doctors multiple times. I've even contacted the director's office. I'm told, I have been told 3 times that it was on order, and to this date, it is not on order. People that I have dealt with are totally incompetent. I call and to inquire what the status of my medical device is, even as recently as 2 weeks, and the guy just hangs up on me when I inquire. So, I am in a lot of pain, and for some unknown reason, nobody can get off their butts and do their jobs. When you call someone and you tell him you want to know why you're not getting his device and they hang up on to you, that man should be fired. In addition, because John Moore's name came up earlier, I have called his office and called him twice in the last week, and he has not returned my phone calls.
That will be fixed immediately. I have control of it. Is John here? John's having a bad day. Okay. They can't do what I do. I can call my staff out. You should know that. There is a very specific process, so I shouldn't tease, but I can't stand it when somebody doesn't treat me with dignity or respect. I can't stand I navigate healthcare appointments for people, not just veterans, but folks in this community, which members of Congress don't do. I do it because that's the job I had before, so I'm good at it. But why should I need to do that? Why should you need an elected official to get you an appointment? And what about all the people who can't call me? Right? It's outrageous. So I know poor Director Welch, but we would love to get your medical device ordered and delivered, and if it's something that's already been decided upon, I don't know why we don't have access to it ASAP, and I'll certainly defer now to Director Welch if that's okay with you.
The last time I spoke with this individual at the hospital, he told me he hadn't purchased it because nobody had told him where to get it.
Okay, well, we're going to get yours.
I spoke to Sean in the director's office. He said he would take care of it, and I haven't heard from him again in 2 weeks. So people who are not following through, are not doing their jobs, and they forget forget the fact that they're there to serve the veteran,
Agreed.
not to sit on their butts and collect a paycheck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So can we make sure to work with them?
Yes, ma'am. Sir, Joe in the back, he'll get with you and we'll find out a few more details from you. Just a couple of quick comments, if I may. We are working on our phones, trying to get that fixed. We know that that's a problem. I've actually hired more phone operators to be able to handle that. We're also working with our services to be sure that when phone calls are moved to those services, we have a point of contact with those services, and we're working through that right now. So I hope that you'll see some improvements in our phone responsiveness. If any of my staff does not treat you or anyone with respect, I just need to know what their name is, and we'll certainly look into it and do what is appropriate. So just you have my assurances on that, and we will. Regarding Sean, I'm not sure. I don't know that I have a Sean in the office, but Joe is the new Sean, and he will be able to help you, sir. We'll find out what specifically is going on with your medical device and work with you immediately on this.
And Director Welch, would you let me know when that gets done?
Yes, ma'am.
And he's good about that. I have to say, we don't always agree. But when he gives me his word that he will call me personally, by golly, he does it. So thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Congresswoman Lujan Grisham. It's good to see you again, and thank you for hosting this Veterans Town Hall. I know you're here for me. So as a veteran who uses the Women's PTSD and Military Sexual Trauma unit in behavioral health, it has come back to my attention that that program is being eliminated. It is being consolidated into one. And as a woman vet, a visible woman vet who's experienced this trauma, I'd like to know why that unit is being condensed into the men's unit, because our issues are totally different than the men's unit.
Let me jump in here, ma'am. As far as, I don't know how that information got out, but to my knowledge, we are not, and I will not let those two things be combined.
Okay.
So I don't know what's going on with that. So, and as far as I know, that's misinformation. There's a very clear reason why those units need to be separated.
Correct.
And you have my full assurance that that's not going to
Well,
happen.
can you please speak with your director, the female director of the behavioral health unit, please, and get some clarification, because I heard this on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for pointing it out, and I can tell you that it is not going to happen. There's no plan to make it happen. There will be no plan to make it happen.
Okay.
However, if there's disinformation out there that is causing people to be upset, we absolutely want to get in front of that and get the information out to our veterans.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I pile on? I want to pile on. I have not had a chance to tell Director Welch this or my team. So I just got veterans who came to my office in the last couple of weeks, all female veterans who have complained that we have insufficient women's specialists, not just in behavioral health, but inside the hospital, and that it's a national problem. And I'd like to see Director Welch and our VA lead to make sure that we've got that done. You tell me how I help you do that.
And then secondly, I want to bring to your attention, because I go to the VA every week for appointments. I am dismayed at how veterans are being left in the hallway during their appointments, especially in radiology. It is doing a disservice that we're having appointments, and then those who are actually inside of the hospital are just there in the beds. So I would like to see some more dignity for those veterans who are in the bed, and they also are utilizing radiology like the rest of us.
Yes, ma'am. We'll look into it and find out. I'm not clear on that specifically, but we'll look into it, and we absolutely want people to be, as you said, have dignity and respect in their health care.
Okay, and then thirdly, regarding employment there, is it possible you guys can address your staff that they need to be more friendly to us as veterans, because you walk in there, we're already in there with issues, but they are the most unfriendly staff that I have ever met at a hospital, and it's in all departments, not just one.
Okay, all I need from you is just to give me a name and just write up exactly what happened, and I assure you we will look into it and run it to ground.
Well, this is a collective group. I can't.
Could we do a cultural shift awareness training? Could I help
Yes.
with that? Could you and I lead something? Because it's, can I take his side for a sec, since I never do?
Yes.
Why he likes me, I don't know. Patients, and particularly patients who are sick, whether you're a veteran or not, are difficult, right? I take care of my mom, and no one loves my mother more than I do. But sometimes it's hard, and my patience gets thin, and then I feel terrible about it. But I am admitting to you that my patience gets sometimes a little thin, and I can tell that my mother's pushed her other caregivers to their limit as well. But that it's my responsibility to know that I need to address that and find a better way to be a better caregiver, not the reverse. So while we recognize that taking care of folks and being supportive can be a very hard job, the best, the most, we have access to incredible men and women in the healthcare community in this state and around the country who are veterans themselves, who want to serve veterans, and we have to find ways to also get them to be as compassionate and respectful, because when you're sick, that's when you need your dignity addressed more than any other time, I think, in your life, or when you have an independence issue. So I would love to help with that, and maybe I could use a little of that training my own self. So let's do that.
And I did bring this up with your Human Resources Director, but I know he was transferred to Pennsylvania. So I don't know if that information funneled down to your new incoming Human Resources Director, but I did personally go into the office and talk to him regarding, the lack of respect or the unfriendliness in the hospital.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for doing it. Again, if you have an experience, please just write it up and let us know. And like I said, we'll run it to ground. Thank you for letting me know. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much. 6-year Navy corpsman. Last 2 years I was able to work at the VA. I have 2 practical suggestions. One, right next door, one of the things I keep hearing is how people can't get appointments and they're buried in this and buried in that, and people are short-tempered. It's because the VA here is overloaded. Right next door to the VA is an entire hospital. Why did we not acquire that? We could be the biggest medical VA facility in the Southwest if we just took over that facility. And I think it is politically and economically feasible. Second question. Many of the things that we get done at the VA are done in like Texas. A specific example, I was seen there for dental and I had a crown. I had to wait like 6 months for the crown to come from Dallas, Texas. Right next door to the VA is an entire dental squadron of the U.S. Air Force. There seems to be a sharp line between using military facilities and using VA facilities, and I do not understand that in any way, shape, or form. But what the result has been over the years is that Texas and Arizona use New Mexico as a piggy bank like that. All of our, if I get dental care, all that money is going to Texas. If I get medical devices like some of these guys are talking about, they're coming from other places in New Mexico. And when you ask, what they say is oh, we put it out for bid and nobody in New Mexico would bid for it. That is crap. Anyway, my suggestions are, A, buy Loveless. That would immediately double the size of the VA and give you more patient rooms. And B, start using local resources. I was able to get crowns in Albuquerque before I went to the VA. I don't understand why they have to go Dallas now. Thank you. And just something to think about.
Those are great suggestions. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your service, especially in the medical corps as a Navy corpsman. Thank you, sir. First off, any project the VA undertakes regarding construction or contract, we actually have to compete those. And those of you, many of you understand MILCON, Military Construction Project. It's a similar process as MILCON. So even when we have certain opportunities that come up, they're very difficult for VA to be able to do that because of the contracting process, but also even in front of the contracting process for us to be able to be approved to move forward with that. So it is a challenge for us, and it does make us less flexible and adaptable than we wish we could be. Regarding the care, regarding the device, the crown, again, VA does put things out for bid, and it is a contracting process, and the contractor that gets it. My concern would not be where it's made, but just how fast they can get it back to us. You know, so if you, and I realize that the more troubling thing was the length of time than where it was made, in my opinion. We are working with the community now. We do have provider agreements that we're working with local dental services to where our veterans can go out and we can work with them to be able to send them for dental services. Regarding VA DOD sharing, our facility here in town works with the Air Force very closely. We actually have more sharing agreements and a stronger sharing agreement combination than almost any VA in the country. There's a few others that have strong ones as well, like in El Paso. But that's because they've been attached to the same building. The challenge with that is that again we would have to break a certain current contract, and also anytime they work with us, we work with them. It's always on a space available kind of a basis, as you're probably familiar. So again, that would be we work very closely with the Kirtland 377 medical group.
2 quick points. First off, I get my dental care at the VA because it's better dental care. It just takes longer.
So I'm going to write a letter to the VA administration. I'm going to CC Director Welch. We're going to revisit that there are many, many bureaucratic issues that penalize communities and reduce the kind of access and timelines. Good oral health, you know, wait 6 months, have the crown fixed, you're better off. And so, because I do think this is an opportunity to look at ways to streamline government, and I worked in state government for 17, 18 years, and they drove me nuts. So there are ways to resolve these issues, and let's start by re-inquiring. And you know, maybe there's an opportunity with all the VA legislation. We're going to have lots of bills go through it. New administration, there's an opportunity to get new legislation moving. I think we should talk about ways to reinvest where hospitals are located. They have to reinvest in their healthcare infrastructure, because if you don't, we minimize the opportunities and the care for that. So let me see what we can do about that.
Loveless is a complete hospital built. How can you get cheaper than that? And it's right there. And Loveless has worked with the military since
the very beginning. Can I make sure, will you make sure that I know exactly who you are so I can get you a copy of that letter? I want to make sure that you have that, because I might need an advocate or two.
Hi, I'm Joel King, U.S. Army. I got drafted as a private in '66. Got out in 1970 as a captain. I was in 3 years, 9 months, 28 days, and 17 hours. Spent 21 continuous months in Vietnam. I'm going to offer some praise to the VA. I recently moved here from Southern California, San Diego. I've been here since October of last year. I've been in the choice program. My particular healthcare facility in Oceanside, California, the psych division of being treated for PTSD, they didn't have any therapists available. Within 2 weeks, I had a therapist appointment. I was very, very happy about that. I've been here, and I needed some medication for my treatment. As I understand it, Albuquerque is the only hospital in the VA system that offers a beacon program. I walked in without an appointment. Within 15 minutes, I was sitting in front of a healthcare professional, got a prescription for a sleep aid. I was very impressed. And to all my friends here, comrades in arms who are having difficulty accessing the VA, I have learned by attending the vet center on Mountain Avenue here in town. They give me a lot of the shortcuts and ways to get around the bureaucracy to get treated. And I'm very happy with it. I've been in the best healthcare treatment I've ever had in my life. I was an executive for a New York Stock Exchange company. It was a very expensive HMO I belonged to. I went in to see my doctor in that system. And I said, Doc, sometimes when I run, I get short of breath. I said, well, you're just getting old, don't worry about it. A few months later, I was in the VA. I was being introduced to the VA system, had a 15, 20-minute interview with my doctor, my physician at the Oceanside Clinic in California. I said, Doc, sometimes when I run, I get shortness of breath. He prescribes a stress test, an MRI, and other treatment. I mean, turns out it was negative, nothing was wrong. Well, they did the MRI, but they did the stress test the second time. That doesn't happen in the civilian world, because when a doctor refers, it's a ding. You know, they're trying to keep costs down. So I want to offer praise to the VA. I have not had complete experience with the VA system here, but I just had my records shipped to the Rio Rancho clinic, and it occurred, I was there 10 minutes and got it all handled. So I got nothing to say except praise, and I thank you for what you're doing for us. As far as John Moore, he came to me unsolicited here to help me with my situation. I'm in an appeal process for my PTSD. He came over to me, we set up an appointment for Monday morning early.
Goodness, now he's just got one complaint, so if we can get one more person to say something good about John, he's got a chance. I tease him. You got one? Okay, he's good. But I take seriously that we're going to look at what I can do. Here's because I shouldn't be teased about that. It's very unprofessional. My job is to make sure that John Moore and every one of my staff has the tools to do their job productively. And when there's a complaint about John Moore, it means that I'm not doing my job productively. Right? Somehow I'm missing providing him with the tools and resources. So when you say that to me, I actually do, on both sides, take it extremely personally, professionally, and seriously. And John and I will figure out how he can count on me to make sure that he's doing the job that I intend for him to do on your behalf, and vice versa. So we're partners. So really, it's also a reflection of my work. So I need to take a look at what I can do better.
One final thing, Congresswoman. I belong to a different party than you, but you've got my vote in the next election.
Wow, thank you.
Can I just make one quick comment? First off, Mr. King, thank you for your nice comment. A couple of things that I think is an opportunity for us. We have vet centers in a number of locations over the state. And we work with the vet centers that are part of the VA.
How many are there? I should know the answer, but I don't.
I think in the state we have about 5. I know we have one in Farmington. I know we have one in Las Cruces.
Here.
We have one here. We have one in Santa Fe. I'm not remembering the other one.
Is there one in El Muerto or someplace east? I should know this, but I don't. I apologize.
I should know it even more than anyone. But again, those are great places. They're readjustment counseling units, and they are kind of independent, sort of the VA, even though they're under the VA and part of the VA system. But it's a great way where veterans get plugged back into the VA and have a comfortable way of getting back in. Those units are usually a small office area, offices that really is comfortable for veterans who are getting back and are getting back on track. It's a great place for intake and for some recovery. And then again, he mentioned our beacon, and we do have something that we call Beacon that is the only one that I know of, at least with that name. And that's where we provide care for veterans who come in who need some immediate care in addition to what we do on normal medical care.
Thank you.
Hi, Congresswoman. I am here to discuss the caregiving stipend program. And 2 things before I go into our specific case. The first is we want to see this opened up to pre-9/11 veterans.
Great.
Even if it requires a decrease in stipend, everybody should be available for this program. And it'll save a lot of money doing that instead of institutionalizing.
So unfair, including veterans, $490 billion worth of caregiving services provided by men and women in this country. If we all reached out at once,
yes,
the entire healthcare system, not just long-term care, would collapse. And you know what? We're getting older, and we're exhausted, and caregivers give out first and are often hospitalized more, and women do the majority of caregiving. We live longer, so I'm not digging men. And guess what? We have to take part-time jobs or quit altogether, which means our Social Security is lower. We dip into our own savings in order to provide the care. It's a national problem. I got a huge caregiving bill, and anything that you think we should do in the caregiving program, we already have legislation. I'm on legislation with Jim Lujan from Rhode Island. He's in a wheelchair and is wonderful and is a member of Congress, but any suggestion you have, I'm now listening so we can get it in the bill.
Yes, one thing is, there's an epidemic going on. There's over 8,000 families who have been yanked from this program as it sits right now for the post 9/11. I have right here a congressional request from Ms. Lauren Price. She started a group called Veteran Warriors. And that's where I was at. I was an employee of the VA, left to take care of my husband. 4 years later, yanked off the program, no warning, I called Marianne Kresge to request assistance with an incident that had happened, and for 3 years prior, she had threatened me anytime I called for assistance or guidance. Oh, we're gonna have to take you off the program. Oh, we're gonna have to take you off the program. She finally got her leverage on November 8th was when I made the phone call. Ripped us off the program. I now have no insurance. We're going into bankruptcy because we've lost half of our income when I left the VA to care for my veteran. And this is happening to 8,000 families all across the country. It's ridiculous. I don't know what we can do. And again, to get the pre-9/11 vets included in this program we have to.
Does everybody understand that's the limitation to this benefit? It's post 9/11. So particularly for older veterans and their families, and I will just tell you what I think. All right, we did that on purpose because we had limited resources. We realized there was a much bigger group of veterans who were going to need caregiving services, and I think it's draconian policy. I don't know what to do for your particular situation in this moment, but I'd like you to give us a chance to be creative. Sometimes we're fantastic, sometimes we're okay, and sometimes we can't find a win. And I want to be honest about that, but I will go to the mat to figure out what we can do for your family. I'll make sure that our bill, and I think it does open it up to the veterans that you're talking about. I don't know that it addresses the shift in moving people off after the benefit expires. So I think if that doesn't require a secondary bill, maybe I can get Jim. I wasn't aware that that's how many people, based on the benefits, are now off. And
they're finding, I'm sorry, that through the appeals process, it's actually protocol to deny. And I know that our first appeal was handled by the same eligibility committee that had just booted us off. Then it was taken up again, had another appeals committee, same people. It was then given to Dr. Goff and sat on his desk, and then it was given back to the same people. Kate Benson was in charge of supposedly holding a higher level committee, and I called her because Dr. Goff had requested it by a certain day at noon on his desk. And when I called, she said, oh, well, I'm meeting with Marianne in 5 minutes. So again, it was handed right back to Marianne, which is who we've had issues with for years. So it's ridiculous.
So we'll help with the appeal.
Well, we just got our letter from the VISN yesterday, and again, denied. And that's because he doesn't receive his care at the VA any longer after almost dying on December 30th of 2011 under the VA's care. However, he sees a VA-approved therapist. She's sent letters, we've sent proof of therapy, all kinds of things, and I don't know what to do.
You're not gonna leave until we can, okay. And thank you for highlighting. Hi,
how you doing, man? Alejandro Quiñones, I'm the veteran. The other systemic program weaknesses within this program is that even throughout the appeals process, they kept harassing us. And this was the care coordinator, Marianne Kresge, calling us within therapy, telling my wife and myself one thing, hanging up with us, and then calling our therapist and saying something else. to the point where our therapist now wants to stand up in front of Congress to be a witness to testify to the way they treated us within that process. You know, this is just something that shouldn't be happening. Over what? I don't know if they get bonuses before the holidays or taking you off of the program makes them richer. We're trying to figure it out. And why these people aren't being held responsible for what they do to, you know, all those veterans at the end. Close the loopholes. Hold these people responsible at the end. That's something that should be brought up within the VA system. And not only that, the law was implemented in 2010 and then added a new rule that Congress never approved. So it just doesn't make sense to us how the VA can start implementing new things without Congress's approval or without taking it to the House. Even Dr. Ashokin said that one of the main important things that they need to do is this caregiving coordinated program, because society can't handle these type of issues. Who's our best caregiver? Our spouses, our family members, not the healthcare system. It just doesn't make sense with all these issues that are happening. Mr. Baca helped us out through the process. He was there for us, he did as much as he could, but however, because of his position and the higher people within the VA Medical Center, you still get overturned regardless. Denied, denied, denied. And this is throughout the country. 8,000 families. Exacerbating of conditions. You know, suicides, bankruptcy, homelessness, foreclosures, I mean, domestic violence within the family. All this is happening throughout the United States and nobody's doing anything about it. I hope you look into Veteran Warriors Limited Liability Corporation. They've already sent this information up to Congress to put it in front of Dr. Shokin and anybody that is within that arena to speak about this.
I will look at that project, and I will personally, I go back to DC Monday, and that's why we got someone taking notes so I don't forget. So Tim Walls is the ranking member on veterans, so I have immediate access to him. We'll go to the chairman, and yeah, absolutely. I'm an easy sell because I know how difficult caregiving is, and if there's anything we can do is we're looking in this case again to make sure that we've hit every single issue, and we'll do that, and try to be creative and see what we can do, as long as you're clear that sometimes we win, sometimes we get something, and sometimes I lose on these if I don't. I just want to be fair to people.
Yes, ma'am, and that's where we're at right now. I won't return to work. I refuse. He needs me. He needs me all day, every day to be there for him. And then back to making this a program for pre-9/11 vets, that was our idea, as well as Lauren Price's, is to just either lower the stipend or make it one certain amount so all veterans can be included.
Thank you for your generosity and your advocacy. That means a lot, I can tell, to the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being a caregiver. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Ronald Borrell, resident of Albuquerque, and I just want to say thanks for this town hall that you're holding. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to meet you. And I have concerns with Social Security. I delivered a complaint to your office this month, hand-delivered on March 8th with Gilbert Gallegos, and I've called twice and no one calls me back from your office. And this complaint that I have here shows documents where Social Security has wrongfully denied me benefits. I am...
Social Security disability benefits?
Yes, yes. I have a 100% permanent total, you know, with listings from the VA. So, you know, I got past that hurdle with the VA, and now Social Security's giving me a runaround. And, you know, I'd like some attention on this, and I thought I'd come here and find out how I can get someone to look at this and make an inquiry about it.
Thank you for your courage to speak out. I apologize to you that my office has not been as responsive as we should be. If that's filed, Mr. Bunnell, and you got your copy there?
Yes.
Then Gilbert, you and I should meet about this case after the, and you're happy to, I mean, please feel free to meet with my staff. We'll get on it right away, and we'll give you an update, if not this afternoon, no later than Monday morning.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that I'm personally involved in making sure it's moving through the process.
Okay.
And I'm sorry that you had to come here, but I'm glad that I got to meet you.
No, it's a pleasure.
And I got to apologize.
It's a pleasure. You know, I want to, you know, share with everybody that my concerns are the same as everyone else's. A VA, what it is they're overwhelmed. There's too many veterans, there's not enough health staff. And, you know, the doctors, they do what they can. They try to provide, but it's hard to get appointments. Even, I was involved in a traffic accident last October. A drunk driver hit me, totaled my vehicle, and as a result of that, I had 2 fractured ribs. So I went to the VA, had x-rays done, and I had a follow-up with the primary care doctor. That took from October 3rd of the accident date, so November 16th, to get a follow-up. At that point, the primary care doctor ordered a CT, because I had lung nodules. Okay. Also, when I served in Iraq, I served under the 4th Infantry Division during OIF-1 in 2003 to 2004, and I was also exposed to burn pits. So,
does everybody know about the burn pits? And there's actually Albuquerque families who are huge advocates that got Congress. I'd love to take credit because that's what we do. Somebody else does it, but I was there. But Tom Udall led this fight in the Senate, has been an incredible advocate to make sure that veterans and their families who were victimized by burning toxic waste as you're serving in Iraq and Afghanistan have had significant health care problems, including most of these vets that were exposed to some of these toxins are terminally ill, and we've lost several. So I just want you to know how incredible a community we have to make sure that we get it right for veterans all across the country. So thank you for mentioning that.
The concern is these nodules have shown up in my lungs, and it's not so much, you know, getting financial compensation from Social Security, but getting Medicare coverage, getting the health coverage, because the VA is limited in what they can do.
So one thing too that if we don't know, and I know I take too long, but this is so helpful to me, and your patience today with me is remarkable. Thank you. You may not be able to get the right treatment here for some of those very specific lung disease issues and burn pit issues. I don't know that to be the case for you, but we should work together to make sure that whether that's MD Anderson or another center of excellence for the very specifics, we would be very interested in being your advocates to get you to the right place. One negative to tell you if you're a burn pit, if you've been exposed, just like with all new diseases and toxins, we don't have folks who've seen enough of it to know exactly what the right treatment protocols are. So it's a really tough issue. But we would, just like everyone, my office works for you.
You know, and I'd like to share something else with the other vets that use VA healthcare, is use your online, you know, I've learned that phone calls don't work. You need to get online and reach out to your primary care and send them a message online. It goes back to a lot of the squeaky wheel gets a grease. You got to squeak. You got to, you know, that's what I've learned, is you got to stay on top of things and send messages and say, I have concerns, I need an appointment. And it does work for me doing that, and that's why I'm here today too, because I know your office is busy, but I have timeline concerns. You know,
I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
The system should be easier. The system should be easier in my office. The system should be easier in the VA. You shouldn't have to be the squeaky wheel because some people are too sick to be the squeaky wheel. Some people don't have access to the internet. And while you are an incredible advocate, and I'm delighted to meet you today.
I'm also a member of VFW, Disabled American Veterans and the American Legion.
We have to get government to
and yet
encourage
it's getting its involvement, is what it is.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Congressman.
Can I just make a real quick comment? I know we're very limited on time. Yes, ma'am. The gentleman, Mr. Burrell, thank you, sir. When you brought up the My Healthy Vet program, and that's a program where a veteran comes into our facility, gets registered online. I mean, you just have to have a couple of different forms of identification. But you can look at your lab work, you can look at your appointments coming up, you can refill your medications, you don't have to make any phone calls to get any of that stuff done. You can actually send a secure message to your team, they can send you back. Many of our veterans get their appointments that way. It takes some of the load off of our phone, it makes it much easier for the veterans not to have to wait on a phone call or anything like that. So thank you for being the poster child of our program, sir. Thank you.
And a shout out to the VA. Thanks for interrupting me. I need you to do that. These are great ways to have control of your own patient records and ownership of that. So thank you for that. Was great, Director. Yes.
Thank you for being here today, Congressman. My name is Dennis Sanchez, or the combat medic. I served in the New Mexico National Guard 744th MASH unit until I retired from there. I was 22 and a half years I served at the VA hospital. And first of all, it was an honor to serve you gentlemen and women. I always felt that the veterans deserve the finest care available. As a veteran myself, 22 and a half years. During that period of time, I have seen gross mismanagement, but I was always the type of person, just keep your mouth shut, go to work, do your job, keep a low profile. Being military, I always believed in the chain of command. If you see something wrong, go to your sergeant, first work your way up. There's something called the Whistleblower Protection Act. That is not in effect at the VA. 3 things that I saw that were just horrific, that I got no results from management. I have definitely retaliated against. I called the OIG, Office of Inspector General. It's supposed to be confidential. That is in effect. That doesn't work at the Albuquerque VA. To reiterate what the gentleman was saying, a few people have said, they're management heavy. For every worker, there's 3 supervisors. Specifically look into the sterile processing department. Chief and assistant chief, 4 supervisors, 4 lead techs for a staff of 18 people. And these are things that I've seen for 22 and a half years. Now to get to my specific case, in November 2014, I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. What a lot of veterans people don't understand is the VA hospital is a teaching hospital for the New Mexico UNM. We're a teaching hospital. So when you sign that consent form, if you read the fine print, that part of your surgery could be or will be done by a student under the direct supervision of a surgeon. I know that to be false. I have seen surgeons walk out of the room. It looks good, you guys close up. The veterans are being used as guinea pigs for the New Mexico School of Medicine. I hate to say that. 22 years, I've been there, I've personally seen these things. I realize students have to learn someplace. But in my own particular case, I was diagnosed with cancer November of 2014. The student intern, she wasn't even a resident intern, first year student, said, we want you to go in and have your surgery with the Da Vinci robotic surgery. I worked in surgery. I'm not comfortable with the Da Vinci robotic surgery. I said, no, you know what? The tumor's embedded in my kidney, just open me up, take it out. Well, if I did the Da Vinci, I could have been in the OR the next week. Being that I refused that type of surgery, I waited 4 months. She told me directly, well, if you don't go with the Da Vinci, I don't know.
Were they benign, those tumors?
No, this was cancer. This was cancer.
They knew that before the 4-month wait.
Yes,
so you had a
ma'am.
biopsy, and okay. I just want to make sure I keep
The deal was, unless I go with the Da Vinci surgery, I don't know when we can get you on the schedule. 2 years ago, the whole scheduling thing came to light. I'm thinking, my God, you know, I got cancer. The next day I went and spoke with Annabelle Gehart. She runs the operating room. She said, Dan, we could have you on that table tomorrow. I waited 4 months for my surgery. 4 days post-op after my surgery, I'd just been released. All of a sudden I started hemorrhaging, massive hemorrhaging. Go back to the emergency room. 18 hours later, they sent me to UNM. 4 stents, blood transfusions, almost bled out. Come to find out, my kidney is malrotated and upside down. Basically, they put my kidney in backwards and upside down, which caused the renal artery to rupture. The surgeon wrote specifically, I cannot return to work. I can't function over there anymore. I can't work anymore. 20 months I waited with no income. Being that I worked there, I knew Tilford Brown, everybody in HR. I thought they would take care of me. I took care of them, their families, their fathers. 20 months I went without any income. And I want to thank your office down at the Compass building. I went down there and I just got a letter from one of your people that work from you. And it had the letterhead, Congress of the United States, Washington, D.C. Once I took that to the VA, within 1 week, I was approved. Thank you, Congresswoman. And that was without even anybody looking into my case. But once they saw that Washington, D.C., they, you know, I got my disability. Now, of course, that did not come easy. OPM, 167 times I called them to speak with the human being, because when I got my retroactive pay, they were garnishing my pay because they were saying that they'd been paying me $1,700 a month for 20 months. I had zero income. I sent bank statements. Anyway, I finally gave up on that fight.
Well, if you don't want to give up, we won't.
But they're garnishing the little bit I do get.
Mr. Sanchez, thank you for thanking me. Let's look at that again. We actually have a pretty good record of winning on Social Security. And we'd like to try again if you're willing. Again, I can't promise the outcome. That gets handled by Social Security, but I can promise, again, we'll go to the mat. So if you're interested, I worry that they make mistakes in garnishing Social Security checks, and they really hurt people. And they aren't good about figuring out those calculations. I just have to say, we've seen how much money, Matt, have we returned to the community? It's millions. All right, millions of dollars have been returned to New Mexicans that was kept by Social Security because Social Security was wrong. And if we weren't involved, and that's my job, so you don't have to thank me, but if we weren't involved, they wouldn't get it. Well, that's wrong, it's yours. So we'd love to try if you're interested, but I know also that this is exhausting and weighs on you in ways that most people not in this room may not understand. So whatever you want to do, Mr. Sanchez, we're there.
My problem isn't with Social Security. I got my Social Security disability. My problem was with OPM, Office of Personnel Management. When I finally did get through, the lady told me, she says, you know what, we have 67 employees to handle the Forest Service, the VA, the Post Office. They're understaffed. But I guess the questions I have are, I filed a medical malpractice. Obviously, I lost my job. I've lost my 401k money. When you file a malpractice suit against the Veterans Hospital, the government puts a 20% cap on what my attorney can receive. I went to finding for the major lawyers. As soon as they find out it's the Veterans Hospital, they don't want to touch it. Not only because, now why does the government put a 20% cap on what my lawyer gets?
This is my opinion. I want everyone here to take this with a grain of salt, because I think lawmakers worry, I'm a lawyer, that lawyers will game the system and will work on veterans cases and take too much money. And I will also tell you that I just voted against a bill that passed that reduces whistleblower protections. and the opportunity to bring lawsuits. And there are going to be lots of bills in Congress. There's already been at least one that passed that reduces lawyers' ability to do tort cases in general. They want to eliminate malpractice. And here's the hard part, if I can just really quick. There's no question in my mind that we have bad lawyers who take cases that there really isn't merit, that they overpromise to their clients, that they harass the other side, and it's a problem. And those lawyers should be ashamed. There's no question in my mind that too many people do not know that a lot of plaintiffs' lawyers front all of the costs, and it's too bad that litigation is expensive. They front it all. Expert witnesses, tens of thousands of dollars. Research, discovery, could be $100,000, and they front it just to get a case in. So what happens when you cap it, if I know that I can't get my costs recovered to prove your case, it limits your ability to fairly get representation. So I personally, between those two things, I err on the side of an individual's right to get a fair day in court. Where we have abuses, I'm interested in dealing with those abuses. But that's why they do it. I don't love it. I would vote for something that would remove that. I would tell you in this particular Congress, it would not likely pass. They're looking in the Congress I'm serving in now, they're looking at ways to minimize, and I'm going to defend some folks because I want, this is not a political forum, it's an official forum. They're worried about how much money we spend in litigation and how much money the government spends. Maybe that money would be better directed right at you for services. I got that. I understand that opinion. I'm not sure it quite works like that. But if we can help find a lawyer, I'd love to do that too. It hurts me to hear the kinds of things that you're going through. And I'm so glad that you're here today, but it hurts me that you're having such struggles still. And I'm very sorry for your story without knowing the facts at the VA, but I'm very sorry to hear about how you feel you've been treated, and that in fact that you believe that, and that sounds condescending, I didn't mean it to, but that there's an issue that you've identified in front of all of us about a surgical procedure that didn't go well. And one last thing, I do appreciate that there's a partnership between so many hospitals at UNM. You're right, you want students to get access to these, we want surgeons. But the scope of practice laws in New Mexico require the surgeon be in the room. It's very, very strict. So where you have these issues and we can still raise them, make no mistake, we will. And I am sure, I'm going to have to defer, Director Welch is going to look at that record and see who signed in, who signed out, and make sure, because that's a very serious issue, and I applaud you for raising it, because it's absolutely illegal, and in fact, that surgeon can lose his or her license. And if they did that, should.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, believe me.
Thank
after
you.
22 years. Now, I guess my other quick question was, when I did finally find an attorney, she said that if it was press, UNM, any other hospital, I filed a tort claim.
That's right.
That the VA has no time limit to respond. In other words, it's been 2 years now, and they don't have to respond. That's why these veterans are waiting 20, 30 years for their agent or they don't have to respond. If I sue Presbyterian, 90 days. Either we're going to settle or we're going to go to court. The VA, they just forget about you. But as far as the tip of the iceberg, I worked under Mr. Marnell. He was the CEO for years. And I could tell you more stories about that place, which they need to come out. They need to be told. None of this stuff was ever in the news. I mean, sewer pipe on the 4th floor busted. Flooded the OR on the 3rd floor. They came in, they didn't, I'm like, man, you gotta rip out all the sheetrock. They took it out 3 feet tall. Because that's their money maker, is the operating room, total joints, the heart room. They didn't do the job correctly. Then 6 months, the nurses working in room 7, the total joint room, are getting sick. There's black mold growing in the walls. Never heard a thing about that on the news. Never heard a thing about all the patients that had total knees and total hips that came down with severe infections. That's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just one example. But I've got to sit down. But thank you, ma'am, for being here today.
You're welcome, and I will tell you that while there was a retirement, and this is our, we had a town hall when those issues and the wait lists were surfacing. Director Welch hears my office every day about past issues we still want addressed, and he didn't blush this time. So he's hanging in. But I just want to confirm these are issues that we've been addressing in general. Yes, sir. Thank you for your courage.
My name is Bob Mueller. I'm an Army veteran, 3 Purple Hearts. I can say that medical care I get at the VA is very good when I can get it. I learned that if you have a problem, the best thing to do is go to the emergency room. After release, they say do a follow-up with your caretaker, with your primary care. In the last 4 years, I've had 4 primary doctors. I cannot get an appointment. If I get an appointment, come in 8 to 10 weeks. By then, I'm either healed or I'm going to die. Second problem is behavioral health. When I first started going, I was doing good. Things have been getting worse. I'm very scared of myself. Don't go to the Veterans Crisis Center. They're going to call the city police. That's the last people you want to deal with. So right now, I'm in a limbo. My best bet is to stay home, locked up in my house. Nobody's going to help.
Can we get you an appointment right away? Would you be willing?
Joe, I just had an appointment a few weeks ago. When I was done with that appointment, my doctor told me, I don't know what else I can do with you.
Can we work on this case together?
Joe's walking up right now.
Okay. I would like to, and I'm not a clinician, but I bet there's something we can do differently and better. And I've got the director's commitment, and you've got my office. Joe's actually been very good about communicating with us. I'm fairly good at navigating the newest and best behavioral health and primary care interventions. So I'd like to help. Can I?
We'll see what happens.
Okay, let's try.
Let's just hope it doesn't follow the same stories as before.
We want to try to get you out of that pattern. We want all the other veterans who are in that pattern to get out. So you've highlighted an issue that I have no doubt they're going to take a forensic review, because I'm going to write a letter and say, what did you do about this particular complaint? And I don't want to persecute the folks who are up here, but my job is to hold them accountable. Their job is to be accountable to you. Your job is to make sure that we have the information so that we can make the changes that we need to make. So I thank you for telling us what's not working. I thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Michelle, for being here today. I want to thank these gentlemen for the job they're doing at Raymond G. Murphy. I've got nothing but praise for that hospital. Got nothing but quality care there. If you want something done, you get off your candy asses and you go down there and take care of yourself. Too many people have become dependent on the government to do things for them instead of doing it for themselves. What you can do for me when you go back to Washington is tell Nancy and Chuck Schumer and the rest of the in-the-way people to get out of the way and help this new president get something done for the next 4 years.
I'm actually going to take that one. I actually am going to take that one. You know, I do think I get frustrated with the messaging back and forth by leadership on both sides. And I feel like the rest of us sort of get caught in a lot of that. I think it's a valid issue about sometimes that does occur. Like I think I just got interviewed about the healthcare reform. You know, for 7 years we didn't do, Democrats didn't address those either. They just defended the Affordable Care Act. Republicans just repealed. There's a lot of work in the middle, and I got frustrated.
Well, Obamacare was started on the lie and is finishing on the lie. You run it down our throats, and then you want to defend it.
I don't know there.
I'm talking right now. This is not the place
It is the place, because she asked what she could do for me.
You got a question about yourself?
Sit down and shut up.
Oh, wait. We're gonna, wait. I did that. I apologize to you, ma'am.
You asked what you
I
could do
did,
for me,
and I agree with you, but I don't want to use language that's demeaning to any person in this room. These are men and women who serve just like you did,
Yes.
our country. And I thank you for that. And I get to serve our country in a different way thanks to you. And I'm lucky to get to do it. And I just want to agree that there can be political issues that don't work well for most people. And I will take that suggestion seriously in my job to protect Americans and New Mexicans. And I wanted you to hear that from me directly.
Okay,
I will do my
appreciate
job.
that. And thank you so much, you do.
You're next. That was my fault. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, thanks for being here, Congresswoman. My name is Gretchen Rick. I'm U.S. Army retired disabled veteran. I'm going to stick with VA health care here in New Mexico. There's lots of issues with VA stuff, but in my opinion, we have a really good VA medical center here. It's not perfect, and there is a lot wrong. So many things, crazy things wrong with that place. I drove from Rio Rancho on hold with one clinic and got to the hospital up the stairs and was standing in front of the receptionist in the clinic on hold. You know, the problems to me seem to be manpower problems, technology problems, and the My Little Kingdom problem. If it's not my clinic or my little world, I don't care about it. We're in the 21st century, for God's sake. Where's the telemedicine? Where's the, what do they call it? Devices that automatically send our medical info, if we need them, to our doctors directly. Many of my appointments are med checks. I could do that on Skype. Where is the technology to make getting health care better? Also, what I feel RVA has done very well is, and I don't know the proper term for this, adjunctive therapies. You know, I have physical and psych disabilities. All they want to do is throw meds at me. Okay, no, I'm not having that. Where's the other stuff? Let's see, we got a brand new adaptive sports recreation therapist. Please, for God's sake, don't think of this as recreation. Adjunctive therapies, let's see, PTSD. By the way, the VA never tells us that it's not curable and that we need to start helping ourselves too. Here, just take this. But PTSD, painting. I wake up at night with nightmares, I'm agitated, I can paint. I can take my bike around the block. My bike. I have orthopedic disabilities. I have a cat trike, which is it's a bike for disabled people. It's a lot of fun. That gets me out exercising, fresh air, which helps my mental health and my physical, which until I started finding these things, I was locked in my box at home, sitting on the sofa. And now I've got a bike. I joined the recumbent bike group in town, although I can't keep up with their 26 miles yet. I do art that I learned from the VA. I've learned to grow gardening. Oh, beekeeping. You are not going to be agitated if you need to keep bees. You find all these little tips and tricks and tools, little ones, added to my toolbox made for a big difference. And I'm afraid that a lot of people are going to look at this recreation therapy as just a frou-frou thing. And the vets won't use it. It'll be cut from budgets. And it's not taken seriously. There's a yoga, my God, they were ready to give me medicine for back pain. Take a yoga at the VA, back pain's gone. I am one of the lucky ones that is able to fight my way through the VA system to get most of what I need. And I understand not all veterans can do that. I wish there was a better way, and I wish our VA was better, but I think we're pretty darn good, and we're getting better. I've been using this VA since '01, and it's just been a slow climb up. Back to manpower. I need to see my orthopedic guy. There's a 2-year wait. What? Staffing, they lost their orthopedics guy, 2 of their doctors, orthopedic doctors.
That's something I know we can get to.
We are down on orthopedic doctors. We are feverishly trying to hire, but we can also send patients into the community. We have the capacity to do that. Man, if I may, you're leading me into something that I hope I get a chance to bring up today, and this may be my only chance. Our VA has been selected with a lot of support from leaders across the state. In Albuquerque, not this summer, but next summer, we are going to be the annual sponsor for the National VA Golden Age Games. And so veterans from all over the country will be coming to Albuquerque, New Mexico to participate in Olympic type events, everything from normal track and field events, horseshoes. So if you're a veteran and you want to win the National Horseshoes competition, start practicing now. You've got a year and a half to do it. But we're very proud, and that is a show of our commitment, VA's commitment nationally, but our local commitment to what you said, recreation therapy. And it is therapy. It is therapy. It's a form of therapy. So we are moving forward in having more of a mind, body, spirit approach to healthcare. And so we do have things like yoga and Tai Chi. And just 2 weeks ago, some of you may have got to attend our creative arts festival for our veterans. And we are known in the VA for always winning too many things because we have so many talented veteran artists in New Mexico. And so we're very proud of those things, and we do think that it's part of the mind, body, spirit combination that you can't separate. So thank you for bringing it up. I just wanted to give a boost for the Golden Age Games, man.
And I'm going to do 2 quick things. One, PTSD is an issue that is evolving about how those treatments work, what we do about over-medicating so many of our vets, and finding new treatment techniques. And just in general, the United States is not the best example of curing and affecting disease productively. We like to treat it long-term, and we ignore the real behavioral health issues from the traumas that men and women who serve in the military and their families, quite frankly, suffer. And so it is getting more national attention. There's more research. I'd like to see, even, which is not, Director Welch doesn't have control over that, I think the country ought to have a significant investment in PTSD treatment and research. And then the last thing, why don't you and I try to lead something for technology innovation in the veterans healthcare system, and look at maybe what we can do to pilot some of those things and see if I couldn't get a little money to make your way to do exactly that, because I agree it could really enhance your control over the healthcare benefits that you're receiving.
Yes, ma'am, and we do have some telehealth programs. We are improving those, we're building on those. We also, you mentioned something like Skype. We do have a form of that, but it's very limited right now for specific, running out of steam here. It's very specific, but I think we're on the cusp of doing that, but all the support we can get from our veterans and from others to continue to push that forward be very, very helpful. Yes, ma'am.
More stuff like PTSD, instead of prescribing me a sleep med, how about issuing me a weighted blanket? I don't know if you know about those. There are so many physical things we can do instead of handing. Now with the staffing, this is why we're having medicine. The low staffing is move them in, move them out. And so once we get the staffing thing done, I think that will fix a lot of things. So,
agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you for good suggestions. Thank you for your service.
Hi, my name is Lisa Calaroe, and I'm not a veteran, and my my heart is torn by hearing all these incredible stories. I'm here to ask you, Congresswoman, to co-sign the House bill, the move to amend the U.S. Constitution to give human rights to humans instead of corporations. There is an incredible website called Move to Amend, and they have a timeline there that will tell you all the history of how the corporations have worked to gain corporate rights and take away human rights. And so I'm asking you to co-sign that bill. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for paying attention to what's going on. I've been on all the constitutional amendment legislation specific to campaign finance reform that affects some of these new corporate rates. So I'd like to take a look at that specifically. I want to be earnest with you and tell you that I have not done that, looked at this specifically. So thank you. Gilbert, grab that. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Virginia Newstrom. I'm not a veteran. However, I did serve by supporting the U.S. Department of State, and I've served in 11 different countries, sometimes in war zones.
Thank you.
I am very upset about the inability of our government to follow through on its promise to give people such as translators who risk their lives and the lives of their family to support our troops. They cannot get visas to get out of where they are. They have been given a death sentence because they cannot escape.
Quickly, and I thank you for being here. I actually had a meeting yesterday on this issue and many others with General and now Secretary Kelly of Homeland Security. It was a very important meeting. Secretary Kelly has agreed to meet with us further. I'm not very satisfied with the responses or the knowledge both from the State Department and Homeland Security about what some of these changes to both our immigration system and our bans, what they really do and who they're impacting. But there are many members of Congress on both sides of the aisle who are beginning to be very concerned about these issues. And I feel better about the work of the intelligence committees, the government oversight committees, and particularly some of the bipartisan leadership in the Senate. We have a long way to go to get folks to really pay attention to this in a way that I think is meaningful in the House. But I appreciate knowing where you stand. I did that just yesterday. I met with Secretary Kelly.
Thank you. And I'm also concerned as I look around at all of these good people who served, that we are cutting the Department of State budget by almost 30%, and that we do not want to use peace and negotiation rather than automatically sending in troops and putting them in harm's way without using diplomacy.
I'm so grateful that you're here. I also got asked some questions. I'm making myself into trouble again, not only about healthcare, but about the new budget. I have many, many questions and many, many, many concerns. And that is in the top 3 about the State Department budget and so many other budget issues that are, I think, going to cost us human life and human capital in the long run that don't make any sense to me. So I think that you're going to see Congress have a very vigorous, so wherever you are on these issues, you've got a mix. That's the way it should work. I think there's going to be a very vigorous debate about this budget proposal, frankly, on both sides of the aisle. And you know what? We should. We need to have a very vigorous debate about exactly who these impact, these ideas, and why. And I need to know that you care about that you're paying attention, and I'd love to know how to communicate with you as these issues are, I'm on the budget committee, or square in my committee, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Henderson, and I'm on the VAVS group, and I'm also a veterans advocate for the New Mexico Fisher House. For those of you who don't know, Fisher House is like a Ronald McDonald House for the families of veterans or active military people who are undergoing treatment at the local VA or military hospital. It houses the families for free while their veterans are having procedures done. It is my understanding the New Mexico State Historic Preservation Office has not approved the amended plans for the building of the Fisher House on the VA grounds, and I'm afraid we're in jeopardy of losing the funding for it, and it won't go forward without that approval, because it is apparently a historic site where it is supposed to be built, and this may not be within your venue, but is there any way we can put some pressure on the state historic?
Yes.
Office?
So I don't know where that is. Can I work with you? Do you want to give us an update? Because I'm not aware of where it is.
I'll give a really quick update. Yes, and so Ms. Henderson described it exactly. We are, VA and VA Central Office is working with the Fisher House Foundation and, with the state to a set of plans to be sure that they meet and are in agreement with how certain elements of how the house is done. We are looking at moving forward with it, but again, we have been delayed while we're waiting on a set of final plans.
And so that you don't have to get into trouble. How about if my office, which means me, why don't I make a contact? It's Office of Cultural Affairs who's responsible for that? Or is it in General Services? Where are they?
We have a point of contact in our outfit. We can get you the information.
Yeah, I'll just call the secretaries. So I'll do both secretaries, and I'll do that Monday morning. Now I'm flying, so I won't be able to get it done till Monday afternoon. And where's the people who boss me around? There they are. That's who makes that happen, because that woman right there will make sure I do it. We had to call Veronica at Cultural Affairs, and I don't even know who does GSD, but let's figure that out.
Thank you very much.
Sure, you're welcome. Sorry it took so long.